Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng nanonood sa Pilipinas. Good evening to all Celzo Academy viewers. Welcome to our 11th webinar for a cause since we started last June. If it is your first time joining us, allow me to give a quick introduction. I am Gani Celso and I currently teach here in Singapore. I have been teaching for 20 years, 4 years in the Philippines, 12 years in the US, and this is my 4th year now here in Singapore. In fact, I'm starting my 21st year of teaching this Monday as we report back to school this Monday. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us today. For 20 years now, it has been my mission to be an advocate of education and the disadvantaged kids. Last year, we launched 3 projects, and I'd like to thank all avid supporters of our causes, particularly our supporters in Singapore, in the United States, in the Philippines, and our OFWs around the world. Again, thank you for your support. Our first project is Lapis ng Pangarap, and again, we were able to help 23 schools in Anda, Pangasinan, and we were able to provide school supplies to 6,571 students in the Philippines. There are still thousands of kids needing our support, especially in remote areas in the Philippines. So last year, I also launched the Inspiring Minds Transforming Lives project. Again, thank you to all our supporters of all the project. And the third project that we started is We Are in This Together. This is another fundraising campaign that I initiated to unite the community of 18 barangays in Anda, Philippines. And we were able to raise 473,000 pesos to help the schools in Anda, Pangasinan. So again, I want to thank you all our avid supporters to these 3 causes and projects. Also, 2 weeks ago, we have launched the project Back to School to give appreciation to the hard work of our public school and private schools in the Philippines. So this is called the Back to School 2020 Video Making Contest. And this competition is extended until August 22. So the mechanics for this competition is posted at Celzo Academy FB page. So you need to submit a 3 to 5 minute video documentation of your Back to School 2020 implementation. And the judging criteria will be based on the social media votations, that's 60%. And 40% is based on the judges' scores on creativity and innovation and diverse volunteer participation as well. Again, it is extended until August 22, 2020. So make sure you join this video making contest to have a chance to win 15,000, 10,000, and 5,000 for the first, second, and third place, respectively. You can also support Celzo Academy by visiting our Celzo Academy FB page. So please like and follow our FB page to get notifications on the updates regarding the upcoming webinars, and also certificates are posted at Celzo Academy FB page. And second, please subscribe to our channel, Celzo Academy, and don't forget to click the bell button to get the latest videos. So if it's your first time, again, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so at this time. Last month, we have also created 2 FB groups to support our friends from the Philippines. The first one is the Celzo Academy Review Group. This is an academic platform that aims to provide resources for college entrance tests, especially our 12th grade students taking the university admissions test. We also have civil service exam reviewers and licensure examination for teachers as well. And I also create more math content that covers from basic math to high school math. So again, consider joining the Celzo Academy Review Group. And since we're transitioning to virtual learning, we also created the group Global Educators. This is an academic platform that focuses on teacher collaboration and sharing our instructional resources and best practices. Because, of course, it's difficult to do blended learning and e-learning right now. So our resources, our webinar slideshows, and our guest speakers, resource speakers are also sharing some resources in this FB group. So again, consider joining the 2 groups, Celzo Academy Review Group and Global Educators. For today's webinar, here's our learning targets and agenda. We will try to answer questions from the audience relating to teaching and learning. And in particular, we will be looking at the assessments in blended learning, including the formative and summative assessments. And our resource speakers are OFW teachers from US, from Kazakhstan, Singapore. They've also taught in Thailand and Indonesia. So we will try to answer some questions regarding life of teachers as OFWs. So for us to achieve these learning targets, we have invited 2 guests for today. Our first guest is an international physics teacher at Nazarbayev Intellectual School of Physics and Mathematics in Shymkent City, Kazakhstan. Let us welcome and give our virtual applause to Princess Arguelles.
Oh, hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Danny, for inviting me in today's webinar. I really appreciate it. So I am Princess, or I prefer to be called Ses, because I'm too old to be called Princess. I came from Bugasong, Antique. So if there are teachers here who are from Antique, mayad nga aga. I took my Bachelor of Science in Physics for Teachers degree from Philippine Normal University. I was a DOST scholar. And then I spent 4 years teaching in the Philippines, where I met the other resource speaker, Dang or Celeste. I taught at Lourdes School, Quezon City for 3 years, and then 1 year at Miriam College High School. And then in 2011, I got a teaching job at Mentari International, or now known as Mentari Intercultural School in Jakarta, where I was exposed to International Baccalaureate curriculum, middle years program. And then for 2 years now, I'm here in Shymkent, Kazakhstan, where I teach at one of the Nazarbayev intellectual schools. So I'm teaching at the physics math school. So this is like the Philippine Science High School in the Philippines. However, the government employs international teachers to support students and teachers' English language. Okay, just to give you an idea, at Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools, the students study for free. It's an international curriculum, so supported by Cambridge A-level program, but the students do not pay tuition fees. The government provide them uniform, food, and accommodation. That's why being at NIS is what I consider the highlight of my career, because I was exposed to different perspectives, especially with how the government gives significance and importance to the education of the Kazakh students here in Kazakhstan. Okay, so that's it.
All right. Good morning again, Sis, and thank you for joining us today. Okay. Our second guest is from Arizona, USA. In fact, have worked with her as well in the Philippines way back in 2000 to 2004. She was an English teacher in Manila, and we worked together for 4 years. And I think she also taught in Thailand for a couple of years. And again, let's welcome our second guest from Arizona, USA, Celeste Calidades Llanes.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Celeste Llanes. So I've been teaching for 22 years, 15 of which is from the Philippines, where I met Isagani, and 1 year in Thailand. And then I decided to take my teaching career here in the US, but now as a special education teacher. So I'm handling self-contained class, having from moderate to severe disabilities.
All right. Looks like we had a problem with sounds. All right. So welcome again, Dang. I call Celeste Dang, and Ses. Thank you for joining us today. I haven't been to Kazakhstan. If I'm going to visit Kazakhstan, Ses, what will you recommend to see in Kazakhstan?
Oh yeah, the Kazakhstan is not very well known. So when I actually told my mother that I am going to teach here, she was very hesitant, because when people hear about Kazakhstan, what comes into their mind are the rest of the stands like Afghanistan,
That's true.
Turkmenistan. But you will be surprised that Kazakhstan is really friendly country for expats. And by going here, you can actually get to enjoy a lot of nature treats. Like they have everything, the beautiful lakes, like the one you could see in Canada, in Switzerland. They have beautiful mountains, and then they have also sand dunes. So it's like you can get everything by just going to Kazakhstan. It's a really, really beautiful country. And ang daming guwapo.
That's awesome. I can't wait to visit Kazakhstan, and I'll let you know, Ses, if I visit Kazakhstan. I hope
Yes.
that you can turn me around in that place. And Celeste,
Yeah.
Arizona. What can you
Mhm.
see in Arizona? I've been
Sorry.
to some places in Arizona, but again, if you visit Arizona, what can you recommend for the tourists?
Of course, the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I've been
It's
there
one of
two
the bucket
times.
list, right, of most people. And then we have Sedona. There's a lot, but it's really hot here. My place now is one of the hottest in Arizona. It's like 120 Fahrenheit.
Wow, that's
Every
really
day.
hot.
I know.
So you can't go out. You just basically stay
Yes.
inside to keep,
I
you
just
know.
get used to it. I just get used to 110 degrees early in the morning.
Wow, and I've watched the news that Arizona right now has a lot of COVID cases as well. So make sure that you stay safe there,
Thank
Dan, and your
you.
family.
Thank you. Yes, we will.
All right, so our days are ready. Before we begin answering some of the questions that we have for today that focuses on assessments, we're going to give some shout outs first to our viewers from mostly from the Philippines. So maybe about 10 people, and also Dan and Sis, if you have some friends or colleagues in the Philippines that you want to give shout outs, you could do that later as well. So I'm gonna start by saying thank you for watching, Cybel, Cheryl, Ariel, Leia from Dagupan City, Amy from Masbate, Gabriel from Pampanga, Roger from Pampanga, Robert from Pagadian City, Sherry Lopez from Pampanga, Sherry Balukay from Cagayan, Rosalie from Las Piñas, Amorfina from Silang Cavite, Dean from Makati, Juanita from Bacoor, Amelia from Taguig, May Delgado from Antique, Philippines. You're from Antique, sis, right? So,
Yeah,
hi to all the viewers from Antique. Yes,
if I'm not
sis?
mistaken, I know Ma'am May. Yeah,
Okay.
we are related.
Yeah, Celeste, Dang, and Princess, if you want to give shout outs to your colleagues, please do that right now before we begin.
Yeah, hi to Ma'am May.
May
And
Delgado.
to all the teachers in the Philippines.
Okay. What about you, Dang? Are you gonna greet some of your colleagues in the Philippines?
Yeah, hi
That's
to
right.
all my St. Jude family back in the
Oh, that's
Philippines.
true.
I hope some are watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
we are joined by my colleague. Hello, Miss Nurgul. Yeah, she is my Kazakh colleague here in
Oh,
Chile.
I want to say hi also to my family in Cavite and Pangasinan. And of course, yeah, St. Jude Catholic School in Manila. Hi to all our colleagues there. Again, thank you for watching. Joan de los Reyes, John Polaurio, Hypren Beach, May Delgado. Thank you for watching. May Delgado said, hi, Mom says, nice seeing you in YouTube. All right. So let's begin. Also, we encourage our viewers to participate in our webinar for today. And our first question is transitioning to blended learning. How do you know that your students are learning? And how do you check for understanding? So again, viewers, please try to think about this question. And then when you're ready, please write your answers in the comment section so other viewers can see your response to this question. So again, how do you know that your students are learning? How do you check for understanding? So we're going to give you about 1 minute, and then we will share our insights to this question. While you are responding to that question, I'm going to give more shout outs to Janine Broha. Good morning to all. Peach Chuang, thanks for all sharing too. Annalizelle Marfil. Good morning po, Ma'am Princess. So you have friends that are watching, Princess. Raul from Tabaco City, Albay. Mireniza from Surigao del Norte. Thank you for watching. All right, so viewers, please start typing your answers to this question. How do you know that your students are learning? How do you check for understanding? And then we're gonna hear from Ces and Dan, and I will be sharing some insights as well. Emma Apostol from Solano, Nueva Vizcaya. And also, once you respond to the question, I'm going to be sharing your responses on your screen. So from Peach said, they engage by responding and sharing. From May Delgado, she said, I give them exercises online and they may send their answers through Messenger or email. Yeah, I think in the Philippines now, they've been using Facebook to communicate with parents and students. So again, these social media platforms are powerful tools to engage your students to make sure that you check for understanding. From Christian Jeromamai, I hope I said it right. We are using an LMS or the learning management system, and by the responses, we can assess that they learn and understand. It depends on the result of assessment. That is true. Based on the result of assessment, you can check whether you need to do some reteaching or you can go on with the next lesson. From Marianne Tapiro, follow up the student through interactive assessment. From Ricky Staco Redelias, I let my students perform the task on his own. But I think transitioning to virtual learning, it becomes more challenging, right, on the part of the teachers to really assess the students, and it's really difficult now for us to check for student understanding. We will share 3 more responses, and then we will hear from our resource speakers. From Zenaida, students are learning when they can apply the principles they learn in the classroom to actual life situations. From Elena Paasa, I could check by giving exercises or questions to answers. And last one, from Marilu, if they're able to answer questions given to them, they are free to privately send me a message if they don't understand certain part of the lesson. All right. Girls, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, time for us to share our insights to this question. Again, the question is, transitioning to blended learning, how do you know that your students are learning, and how do you check for understanding? Okay, who wants to begin?
Me?
Okay, go ahead,
Start.
Sarah.
Okay. Before I answer the question, I would just like to give you a background of what my students are. So at NIS Cisco system, we adopt trilingual education. So our students are speaking Kazakh, Russian, and English. All the materials, classes are taught in either Kazakh or Russian from grade 7 until grade 10 with English subject, of course. And by 11 and 12, they have to learn the materials and take the exams in English. So imagine that these students are immersed in their native language. However, from 11 and 12 grades, they have to take exams in English. So they have to learn the learning objectives in English. So when I came here in Kazakhstan, that's when I got used to be familiar with what we call CLIL, Content Language Integrated Learning, wherein we need to support the students' English language skills by incorporating content, cognition, communication, and culture into our everyday lesson. So what we do before pandemic, the usual flow of our lesson is that we would either review the previous lesson or introduce the new lesson using CLIL activities. So it's either to support content, to support communication skills of the students in either writing, speaking, and to train their cognition and to introduce them to various cultures using the CLIL activity. So what do? Our teachers are really creative in doing matching types. You know, they would prepare card sorts to match the definition with the term. They would do bingo. We would do tic-tac-toe, like 5-item MCQ, true, false. We would also do crossword puzzles, and we would do prompts using simulations, games. Like, say, for example, I am handling 11 and 12 grades, but I'm telling you guys, they really love to learn through games. And we, as much as possible, we try to introduce to them games, say once a month, okay, into our lesson, because they tend to be more engaged and more motivated in learning because our students are already competent when it comes to their math skills. Actually, in our school, our students find physics the easiest amongst the sciences because these students are really good in math. So one way to love the subject is for them to really develop their English because that's when the challenge comes in. Understanding, they know the concept in their native language. However, learning the concept in English is another thing. So those are the various activities that we do. And every time we start our lesson, give them the learning objectives. So they are guided as to what they need to learn and what they need to achieve for the day. So that's the usual flow. In blended learning, we do the same thing. It's just that we do it online, and we are just lucky enough that we use MS Teams, the full features of MS Teams. So we still do the same. It's just that we now incorporate interactive PowerPoint, or the usual Kahoot, quizzes, Quizlet, etc.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of engagement tools that we can use as we transition to blended learning. Again, it depends on the community that you serve, right? CES is, I think, serving the top tier of students. So
Yes.
I really like that you said also that they enjoy math and they find physics as the easiest subject
Yeah.
for them, and that's only possible if they have a strong foundation in mathematics, because that's the prerequisite for them to do well in physics, right? Before we go to Celeste, there's another comment from Dawn La Vega. She said, "I'm using different online activities, and to assess if they understand, I am posting questions, and they should answer it, and answering all the questions I will give show the tally of their scores." And from Andrea Ramos, "It's my first time to attend your webinar, and the impression is great. I will keep myself posted by your announcements for more." So thank you for the positive comment, Andrea. All right, what about you, Dan? How do you know that your students are learning, and how do you check for understanding?
So I'll give you the picture of what I'm handling now. So I'm handling self-contained student having moderate to severe disability. So around, I think, 7 students are nonverbal and would really need full physical prompts. The others are on the middle level. So last March, it was like crazy time, because especially in special ed here, you need to adhere with the federal law, you need to adhere with the state law, and you need to adhere with the IEP. It's not like in the Philippines, the parents would be like so happy if the kids would learn, but here it's governed by law. So it's so hard to transition at first, but of course we need to do what we need to do. So for my low functioning students, we use the STAR program in the district. So that's what is good in the US, because they can purchase like programs for special needs. So we're using the STAR program that helps. That's an ABA program for really low functioning students. To check on the understanding, it's like you're gonna build your relationship with the family, because usually, since they're nonverbal, they cannot talk, they cannot do work independently, it's the parents who you will discuss with, and you will ask to record the data or the progress. So I have different data collection sheets given to the parents with the worksheets or packets I'm giving to the students based on their IEP goals that they need to meet. So for those high functioning students, these are the students that can at least write a 3 sentence paragraph and those stuff. It depends on the IEP goal. We can do the Google class per se, because at least they can communicate to you, but that's around like 3 students in my class only. So technically, in my case, it's really the relationship you build with the families, because they're the one helping you to assess the progress. But of course, with all the packets and worksheets and all the file folders you're giving their kids.
All right, thank you, Dan. Yeah, in the US, you are really required to follow the federal mandates, right? Or else
True.
the school or the teacher will get some lawsuits, and that's one thing that you don't wanna be in. So
Experience.
I hope that usually we have special ed teachers joining our webinars. So we will be sharing some resources as well at the Global Educators Group. I think 2 weeks ago, we invited two special ed teachers from California and from Washington, and they have posted some special ed resources as well in our group, Global Educators. So if you haven't joined that group yet, please do so. Also, I just wanna for here in Singapore, and even when I taught in the US as well. So for us to check for understanding, we have to administer some sort of informal and formal formative assessments. So for the informal assessments, it could include like questioning or observing the students in the classroom. For the formal formative, it can be in terms of assignments or homework, or it can be a project, right? And as we transition to virtual learning also, for the formative and summative assessments here in Singapore, we've been doing it online. So there's some resources that we use. One of them is Egelastic. We also use Khan Academy. I've mentioned this in the previous webinars, and iExcel. Egelastic is new to us. You can access this for free, and it covers all subjects. If you want to get subscriptions, it costs $100. But even without subscriptions, you can still use the assessment, and you can differentiate the questions as well. One thing that I'd like to emphasize when transitioning to virtual learning is the focus should be on learning and feedback, and try to avoid high-stake assessments that will result with stresses. Because one thing that we observed from March to May, even if the students are at home, the stress level is actually getting higher. Because of course they can't go out. There's some restrictions when it comes to going outside their homes, and so try to avoid creating high-stake assessments. Again, the emphasis for the assessment should be the learning and providing immediate feedback. And that's one main consideration when choosing for online assessment tools. It should have monitoring tools. That way you can see the progress of the students when they first join your class and the end of the class. That way the focus is on learning, okay? All right, so just like Rob said, Egelastic is one thing that I've been using to provide formative and summative assessment, because for this platform, you can create your classes and you can monitor the student progress. So you can look at individual students' scores on the assignments that you assign them or the assessments that you assign to them. And now, here's our attendance verification code before we begin with our second question. So if you're interested to get your e-certificate, make sure you take note of this code. It's case sensitive. So again, it's FASA 725. It's formative assessment, summative assessment, July 25. So again, the code for today's webinar is FASA 725. And certificates will be posted tomorrow at 8 p.m. again at Celzo Academy FB page. Okay, so again, take note of that verification code. All right, before we begin with the second question, I'll try to differentiate first formative versus summative, because we kind of mentioned that in our discussion a moment ago. So when we say formative, this can be formal or informal processes. And the main objective for formative is for you to improve the teaching and learning. And for the summative, you use this data to provide judgment about student understanding or about student performance. So our question number 2, as we prepare for the new normal in teaching and learning, what type of formative assessments do you recommend? And why is it important to use formative assessments? In our question number 1, Ses and Dang were able to mention some of the formative assessments that they've been using in the classroom. and we're going to re-emphasize those formative assessments that they use in the classroom. So again, for this question number 2, we are encouraging our viewers to respond to this question. So you have about 1 minute again. So this is a cooperative learning structure that you can use in regular classroom setting or virtual classroom through breakout rooms. So the question is, what type of formative assessments do you recommend? And why is it important to use formative assessments? Okay, so you have about 1 minute, and then when you're ready, type your answers in the comment section. And then after that, Sis and Dan will share their insights as well. So with that, while waiting for your responses, it's time for me to give shout outs again to our viewers. We have Romel Makatiag, good morning. Miko Ismael, Avril, thank you for watching. Imelda Castro from Nueva Ecija, Glenn, Eds, thank you for watching. Eds Mercado says, yes, sir, that's true. Giving them different kinds of assessments to the learners. Good morning, Andrea, Marlisa, Joy Elizabeth, thank you. You're from Ifugao. Celine Lim, her comment is, thank you for the panelists for sharing your expertise. Cherie Lopez, thank you for watching. And Pen Bascos, good morning, thank you for watching. By using differentiated learning to address our learners' gender, needs, strengths, interests, and experience. Levi Kalma from Bulacan, thank you for watching. Helen from Iloilo. Mary from Cebu City. Raquel from Davao del Sur. Clabel Tachado from Cebu, Philippines. Janet from Pampanga. Melds from Zamboanga del Norte. So we have viewers from around the Philippines. So again, good morning and thank you for joining us today. All right, so we're gonna get back to our resource speakers, Seng and Ses and Dang. So you want to start first, Dang, for this question? What type of formative assessments do you recommend? I know you teach special ed, and you've taught also in English. So you can
But that
provide.
was way back. That was in St. Jude.
Yeah, oh, that was in St. Jude. Yeah, how many years did you teach in St. Jude?
4
years?
4 or 5, I forgot. Yeah.
Probably 5, because I stayed there
yeah.
for 4 years. So
Yeah, 5 years.
okay.
But
So
now
as
I shift career, I shifted gear. So basically, it's more of the special education part. But I can still share some of the things I'm using before.
Okay, go ahead, Dan. Thank you.
So for now, since I've mentioned that I'm teaching moderate to severe, so basically it's more taxing on the part of the teacher because it's more of the file folders, since each child is individualized and since each child is meeting different IEP goals. So what I usually do, and most of them, as I mentioned, are really on the low range. So I do file folders that are sent home to these kids. It's too taxing, but it's worth it because some kids would just be on the identification of letters and sounds, so it varies. So file folders really works well. So I also have the adapted materials or books for those who are non-readers. They would just do matching things and those stuff. So for English, what I love most is the exit ticket, which I've used several years. And of course, English is a performance-based subject like delivering speech, those readers theater, etc. So for me, formative assessment is really important, right? Because it's a partnership between students and teacher. What do you mean by partnership? Because with formative assessment, you can easily shift the gear. If this is not working for this kid and you have assessed that it's not the teaching strategy is not working, we can easily shift gear and think or make another strategy that would fit the need of the student. And it's so good to know that my students now, even they are on the low range, they would know that upon me getting their individual file and assessment folder, they would know that I'm assessing them. I want I want something from them, and I'm setting goals for them on that particular goals they have on the IEP.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Sis, what about you? That's the main reason why we invited guests from that covers different levels, right? So let's hear from Sis right now.
Yeah, so as I've mentioned earlier, I'm handling senior high school students, so 11 and 12 grades. And the formative assessments that work on our system is mainly with the use of the features from MS Teams. So with Microsoft features, my colleagues can actually build formative assessments through the forms. So they can do multiple choice through the online form. They can do open-ended questions using the online form. So we make use of that. And another feature that I like about MS Team is the OneNote or the class notebook feature. So with OneNote and class notebook, we can actually create collaboration space wherein we can give differentiated homeworks or worksheets to our students, because the students can only access the worksheets or the assignment that is intended for them. With OneNote and Class Notebook, I will show you my partner when I'm doing my remote learning. So this is a graphic tablet. You can actually get really cheap graphic tablet from Lazada or Shopee. If you're a math teacher or a physics teacher doing a lot of solutions, problem solving, graphic tablet will really help you, okay, in doing your solutions. Because with MS Teams, we also have the whiteboard feature. So we give like a problem or two for students to solve using the whiteboard feature. So those are the type of formative assessment. When we have the face-to-face interaction with the student, it's quite easy to informally assess them, right? Because we know based on their behavior, facial expression, whether they are learning the topic or not. But with online and remote distance learning, most of the time, students will only open their video at the beginning for attendance check, and on the duration of the online learning, they turn off the video because it takes up, much bandwidth, and their internet connection sometimes is not that fast. So in order for us to really know that our students are learning, because the data from these formative assessments are really helpful for us to, just like what Dang mentioned, to shift our gear. It's like it will give us an idea. Are we going to move forward or we go back to the lesson? Because we give this formative assessment not just because we are required to give formative assessment, but we have to use these data. It will really help us. And with my colleagues at NIS, they do case studies using these formative assessments. So I've seen some comments. Yeah, we also use the same. Kahoot. Last April, Kahoot made their premium features free. So I was able to make use of the other features for formative assessment. Quizzes also is really, really good. Learningapps.org, you can build games like hangman or matching. And there's one online or website I use, gradegorilla.com. They have available formative assessments that science teachers can use, especially if you're doing IGCSE or GCSE program. Okay, we have many options. Actually, it is limitless for as long as we know what works for our students, and of course we have to base it on on our students. What do our students have? Are they technology prepared? Like, do they have the resources or not?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tools that we can use. There's a lot of apps that we can use to give formative and summative assessment. One thing that I'd like to recommend, again, I've been saying this, is just focus on top three things that you want to use. Because one thing that you want to do yourself is overwhelm yourself and overwhelm the students. So try to use the top three assessment tools that you want to use. All right. Before I'll share some insights about formative, I'm going to give shout outs to our viewers and some responses as well. From Andrea Ramos, she said, at this time of pandemic, can we do informal formative assessments like games or picture interpretation, just what the students have at that moment? And Sis was able to address that in a way. Yes, that's still possible. You can do formal and informal formative assessments like Kahoot, quizzes, Google Forms. We can also do Khan Academy or IXL as other options. So yes, formative assessments can be done not just in regular classroom setting, but also virtually. From Romel Makatiag, I do prefer to give self-assessment. I will just give rubrics as guide, then the students will just give the responses freely. I also give quizzes. I really like that, Romel. Here in Singapore also, we use standards-based approach. So basically, we give the students also the rubric and the learning targets for the whole unit and for each specific lesson. So one thing that we also encourage is to do self-assessment or peer assessment to give more ownership on the part of the students when it comes to their learning. All right. So why formative assessments? Just to summarize what Says and Dam have mentioned, we use formative assessment to determine who is and is not understanding the lesson. What are the students' strengths and needs? What misconceptions do we need to address? That way you can do intervention or you can do reteaching. What feedback should I give the students based on the formative assessments? What adjustments should I make to instruction? Are we going to do some pull-out sessions with those students who are not meeting the standards? Or do you need to do a whole class reteaching of the lesson depending on the results? How should I group the students? Do you need to pull out 2-3 students on the side while doing a large group discussion? Or are you going to involve other people to provide intervention to these 2 to 3 students? What differentiation do I need to prepare? So these are just some reasons why we use formative assessments in the classroom, whether it's virtual or regular classroom setting. So for the formative assessments, these strategies can be summarized into 3 things. One is, where am I going? So it's really important also, I think Ces mentioned this, provide students with a clear and understandable vision of the learning target. In my math classes, I teach 8th grade math, pre-algebra and algebra 1. So beginning of the unit, we give the students the list of learning targets for the unit. And also for everyday lesson, we give them the learning targets. And we also provide pre-assessment to the kids. That way we know who needs intervention and we know who needs enrichment. Because here in Singapore, we have a lot of students coming from different countries, different backgrounds, and they really have higher level when it comes to math as well. So we try to provide them enrichment. In fact, this year, after 8th grade, last year I had 2 students that were placed in Calculus AB in grade 9. There's some students taking Algebra 2 and pre-calculus in grade 9. So we try to differentiate our lessons and assessments. So if we know that they already understand the learning targets, then we can provide them the enrichment activities. Strategy number 2, you need to use examples and models of strong and weak work. That way the students know what type of meeting the standard work they need to submit. And the second is, where am I now? Make sure that you offer regular descriptive feedback And one of our, I think it's Romel who mentioned about self-assessment. That's actually strategy number 4. Try to teach the students to self-assess or engage in a peer assessment as well. And of course, the third one is how can we close the gap, right? Because the main purpose of the formative, of course, is to address the misconception of the kids, or to provide intervention or to provide enrichment. So try to design lessons to focus on one learning target or aspect of quality at a time. One thing that I observe in the Philippine curriculum is that there's so much that they need to cover in 1 year. And I think the quality is being sacrificed when you do that. So, but this year, I know the Philippines is introduced the MELC here in Singapore, and I know in the US as well. We also use the power standards as our driving curriculum to make sure that we cover what's essential in the specific grade level. Strategy number 6, teach students focused revision. Yeah, it's really important that when you, especially in math, if the students make mistakes on the problem, that you give them opportunity to redo the error that they made. Strategy number 7, engage students in self-reflection aside from the self-assessment, and let them keep track and share their learning as well. All right, so before we continue with our question number 3, here's one more time our attendance verification code. It's FASA 725. So certificates again are available at Celzo Academy FB page tomorrow at 8 p.m. So make sure that you complete the attendance verification. Before we begin with the next question, there is a question from our audience. I hope Sis and Dang help me answer this. I think the question is, I'm going to project it to the screen. The question is, what other best way to assess courses aims to have manipulative skills, especially technical courses?
Okay, I can answer that one.
Go ahead.
Since in our curriculum, practical assessment is assessed, so students need to perform experiment and the practicals. But since we are now doing online or distance learning, so students do not have access to laboratory. So with manipulative skills, especially for highly technical courses, you can actually think of very simple activities at home with the use of materials available in their homes in order for them to verify a concept. That's one. So students can do that. It's like a mini thesis, okay, wherein they will simply verify, say in physics, to verify that indeed the value of acceleration due to gravity is this, using, say, ball falling, measure the time, those kind of things. The use of online simulation would really be helpful as a replacement. So in lieu of those practicals, we can actually make use of online simulation. At least even if the students are not really doing the hands-on activity, at least there's something to support their interest and their learning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really difficult to use manipulatives when you're doing virtual learning, right? So I think the use of videos also are really helpful to develop that conceptual understanding instead of doing the manipulatives or the experiments. So videos are also a great resource that you can use. What about in special eds? Dan, I know in a special ed classroom setting, you guys usually use manipulative to increase student understanding.
Yes. So
with
in
virtual
here,
learning, how's that
in
gonna work?
here, Isagani, we provide. I personally do the manipulatives for the kids and send them home. And then
Okay.
talk to the parents on how they can teach the process. Parents here are so spoiled. I know. That's how
Okay.
we do it with manipulatives.
Yeah. Okay, so of course we have different limitations, right? Especially in the Philippines.
I know.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Mhm.
So we need to teach based on our available resources.
That's true.
All right, let's try to answer this next question from Miss Bernardita Bautista. I think she's from Miss Bautista. I think she's from St. Jude.
Thank you. Hi, Ate
St. Jude.
Bernie.
Hello, Ate Burns.
Ate Burns.
There differentiation in formative assessments.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, there
Dan?
is. So for example, if your topic is like identifying the main idea, so you're gonna present a story. So you'll choose a story based on the level of the students, if she can read, he can understand, and then based from the story, you will now create different formative assessment based on the capability and interest of the student. So some students can do um, paragraph writing. Some students can just do matching. So totally depends on the need. So that's how we do the differentiation for formative assessment. So it depends on the target goal.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. What's your view on that, Says? Is there a need for differentiation in formative assessments?
I think that's one challenge that teachers are facing right now, especially in the Philippines. With the workload that teachers are handling, we are still expected to do differentiation in the classroom, and assessment is one of which. So it may be really, really difficult and tasking for teachers, but if you can find time, please do so, because with differentiation in assessment, it's like, the meme in Facebook. It's like different animals, and then the assessment is to climb the tree. So our students are also like that. So I have a 7-year experience handling middle years program, IB curriculum. And with IB, we do differentiation in assessment. So assessing the knowledge of our student is only one criterion amongst the 4 criteria. So we do levels of questions, and we tell the students, do not proceed to the next level unless you are able to fully show that you're capable of answering the low level questions, because it will help us gain perspective when it comes to our students understanding. So in physics, what my colleagues have been doing is they will prepare several worksheets. So it will range from low-level problems, mid-range, to high-level and challenging problems. So they will provide the first worksheets. When the student is able to finish it, say in 3 minutes, they will provide another, and then they will provide another. We also do different support when it comes to practicals, especially with the students' language skills. So if the students' English is not fully developed, so we give them more support, like prompts, and give them more guidance when it comes to understanding the material. The advanced students, they can do it on their own, or differentiation could also be with pairing different types of learners.
All right, thank you. For us here in Singapore, we use 3 levels of challenge in our assignments, in our assessments, whether it's formative or summative. So the main objective is for all the students to meet the green level questions. The green level questions correspond to meeting the standards. The blue and black level questions are exemplary level questions. So yes, Ati Burns, there's a need, and there's a way to differentiate both formative and summative assessments. So again, the main objective is for all the students to meet the standards. And then from there, you can also include more questions that will be used for the exemplary level questions. So blue and black are more advanced and complex, and these are extremely and highly complex problems. So that's one way to differentiate your assignments formative and summative assessments as well. All right, here's the next question. Are you guys ready for the next?
Yes.
All right, so our question number 3 is regarding the summative assessments. We've covered about the formative assessments. So now the new normal in teaching and learning may last for months or maybe a year. Because I think in Arizona, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, you said you guys are doing virtual learning until October. And I think
Yes.
for CES, this until December. Is that true?
I think, or maybe until November. We
Okay.
don't know yet.
Yeah, so there's no certainty yet, right?
Mhm.
Here in Singapore, we're actually going back to the regular classroom setting in August the 3rd. So, but again, we have to observe the rules mandated by the Singapore government because it's really strict. So, our question number 3 is the new normal in teaching and learning may last for months or maybe a year, as we know. And this requires implementation of some sort of summative assessments to measure the student mastery. So, what kind of approaches or tools or strategies that you recommend at your if you've experienced this in your school. So again, viewers and audience, please respond to the question again. What approaches or tools or strategies that you recommend as options for the summative assessments? So we're going to give you a minute to think and then write your answers again in the comment section below. So again, before we respond to this next question, uh, from Christian, we will employ blended, synchronous, and asynchronous. From Inolita Villanueva, using Google Classroom. From Ricky Estaco, she's, yes, ma'am, princess, I agree po with your strategies. Very vital. And Miranisa Nordan, I like this 3-level challenge. I hope to apply this in giving assessment. Thank you, Miranisa, for that comment. And again, from Ati Burns, who said color coding is cool. All right. So what type of summative assessment tools or strategies that you guys use? From May Delgado, she said essays and online projects may be used as summative assessments. All right. Who wants to begin?
Me?
Go ahead, Jess.
Okay, I will start. So this is something that I would like to share about how our students are graded here in Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, the grades of our students are solely based on paper pen summative assessment. But it doesn't mean that we do not give them other forms of summative assessment. However, much of their grades, and they are aware of it, that their grades will only be based on the summative assessment. Okay, assessing the learning objectives that have been covered. With middle year's program, International Baccalaureate Curriculum, for the summative assessment, we assess knowledge, we assess reflection or application of science, and we assess experiment, um, designing experiment, and processing the experiment. So those are the ways by which we can assess the students with middle years program. However, at NIS, since it's the mandate of the institution that the grades will come from summative assessment. So our teachers give the same type of assessment, that would have varied forms like MCQs, structured questions, and then application questions, which are basically based from A-level questions. So they follow how A-level questions are formulated, and they make use of that in constructing their summative assessment. So what our teachers use is now MS Forms. So they build the summative assessment in MS Forms. Student answer the summative assessment there, and then later on they can check, okay, for the assessment still on MS Forms. However, what we notice is this: even if we set the rules like no phones, you cannot look for answers online, it cannot be avoided that that there is a sort of pollution among students. Like students share answers. And so you would notice that the answers are the same, or the answers are very much like the mark scheme, etc. So my take on this is, at this time of the pandemic, I think the higher up should now try to evaluate and reassess. Is it still necessary for us to give, this type of assessment, MCQs, structured questions? Because we take time in checking the answers, but then the answers are just the same because they look up for it in the internet. Is it still relevant? So that is the question that that you have to think of. So my take is, we have to focus now on, I've read one comment: problem based, inquiry based, creative form of summative assessments. I took this idea from the webinar facilitated by my college professor, Dr. Morales. So, for example, we can let the students do case studies, mini theses, scientific investigation. Say, at the time of COVID, we can let the student explore the question: can air conditioning systems induce coronavirus? That is an application of a physics concept. So, doing application of the concepts that they are learning, reflecting on it, on the journey that they had while doing the project, is a more suitable way of assessing our students, at this time of the pandemic.
Thank you, sis. I just want to build on that because I think we have a very similar grading approach here in Singapore. So before I go to you, Dang, here in Singapore, we also use the SBA, or some people call it the SBG, standards-based approach or standards-based grading. So basically, the grades of the students is based on the assessment performance. And the objective is for them to master the power standards. So their grades ranges from exemplary, that is if they've been doing the blue and black level challenge problems in both formative and summative assessments. It can be meeting the standards, approaching the standards, or below the standards. So that's how we grade them. Again, it's based on the standards and the power standards that we designed as a professional learning community. So again, homework assignments are not part of the grades. It's based only on the assessments. I know in Los Angeles, I think 10% of grades is based on homework, and other schools also use a different percentage for homework, class participation, attendance, things like that. But for the standards-based approach, it's all based on the mastery of the power standards. And I think that's really powerful when you're really wanting to give more accurate description of the student performance, right? For us here in Singapore, homework, turning in of homework is based as part of the learning behavior grades on responsibility, things like that. So for me, for our 8th grade PLC or professional learning community, these are the 3 assessment tools that we've been using. We use Khan Academy and Edulastic as our summative assessments. These allow you to create different versions of the assessments to avoid cheating. And also, there's a monitoring progress tool embedded in these apps. So the assessments you can get the results in a few seconds, the moment they submit their work. Also, you can monitor the students' progress. So if the students are idle, if they stop working on question number 3, you can send a chat to them. Hey, what's happening? You need to continue with question number 4, things like that. Khan Academy and Edulastic are free. IXL is free, but with some limitations on the usage. This is available not just for math, but all other subjects as well from K to 12. So again, I use Elastic because it allows you to quickly identify the learning gaps when you provide assessments, whether it's formative or summative assessments. You can also differentiate the questions depending on the needs of the kids. If you want them to do intervention or enrichment, you can also do that. And of course, there is a monitoring tool that you can use to see the progress of the kids. Just like what I've mentioned a while ago, this is just one way to see the student progress and performance. And one important thing here also for this platform is you can see right away what questions most students missed. So when you're giving formative assessments, you can project that specific question on your screen and addressing that misconception right away, because that's the most important thing. You need to provide feedback and address the misconception right away. That way the students learn from it. And I also use Khan Academy, the same reason, just like Elastic. It has monitoring tools, it's free, and you can create classes, and it's free. It covers from K to 12 as well. So the same thing, you can see the student scores for each assignment that you assign. There's also some videos. There's some note-taking videos also that you can assign to every single kid. And of course, the monitoring progress for the Khan Academy. IXL, if you want a comprehensive access to this, there is a need for student subscription. And yeah, this tells me how many students log in. You can also you also have the live streaming, so you know who are actively joining the IXL practice. So this year, 103,000 questions were answered by my students this year, and they spent 1,000 hours this year. So that's how they use that. All right, what about you, Dang, regarding the summative? Let's get back to you.
Yeah, to piggyback on you, that's also the problem faced by the district, because it was like March and most of the grades of the students are based on the district assessment, which are the summative assessment. So just to solve the problem for 3 months, they just copied the grade. We did not grade anything because the parents are all like going crazy. What's the grade? Because we cannot get back also the worksheets sent to them for security purposes, like because of the virus. So we just retained the grade. Whatever the grade they have for the third quarter is the same as the fourth quarter, because it's the same thing. It's the same problem that the district that my district here had encountered. So I don't know how it's gonna be solved because we're starting pure online starting August.
Okay, we can figure it out. I know teachers are really adaptive. So when it comes to transitioning to virtual learning, I know teachers can figure it out. And I hope that parents and the community work together with the teachers as we transition to blended learning, especially in the Philippines. I know a lot of teachers and curriculum specialists are really working hard to finalize the modules. In fact, you're going house to house to survey the kids and the parents what type of modalities is more suited to every kid. So kudos to all Filipino teachers who are really hardworking and they go out of their way to transition to virtual learning. All right, so our question number 4 is based on the results. So if students are not meeting the standards, whether it's formative or summative assessments, what kind of strategies do you usually do to make sure that the students are learning? So what type of actions do you do when the students are not meeting the standards? So again, viewers, please respond to that question again and respond in the comment section. We're going to give shout out to some of our viewers. We have, I can't it's hard to say the name, Gor Krishana Saha from Professors Sapat Gram College. Maybe this is an Asian country. Comments from Ricky Istaco. This fruitful discussion is very helpful on my research being conducted now. Thank you so much, Sargani, Mom Princess, and Mom Celeste. Thank you for that positive comment. In case another comment from Anna Lizelle. The majority is modular, so we prepared modules for them in assessing their learnings. Hello to Ruel Labutong from Abra, and hello to all the teachers of Pilar Bolbolo Elementary School. Thank you for watching. All right, so there's some responses now to the question. I'm gonna share those questions first, responses first. One is from Katrina Pedronan. Remedial session is given. From Christian, intervention through personal conference via virtual or if possible face-to-face. From Joanne, we send them modules so no one will left behind. So these are just some of responses from our viewers. And let's get back to Ses and Dan, and we're gonna share some more responses later from our viewers. From Marilyn also says, give some remediation. So I think remediation is a commonality for some of our teachers. Collaborative teamwork could also be applied for this situation from Peach Chuang. All right, you want to start first, Dan, this time?
Yes.
What strategies do you use to ensure that students are learning if they're not meeting the standards?
So I've seen the collaborative thing, and that's a big thing in special ed. So I prepared here, of course, emphasize on the structure because these kids need structure more than the regular ed kids. So visual cues are very important to them. Provide picture schedule. Then as special ed teachers, we also meet the sensory and the movement problems or issues of these kids, and the close collaboration with the families. Because basically, this is a work hand in hand with the community, not just the school. And of course, we're using the online STAR program. It's a curriculum for special ed that my district is implementing.
All right. What about you, Princess? Sis?
Yeah, a lot of our fellow teachers have mentioned remediation. That is actually true. So at my school, we are expected to do remediation. But of course, our story is different. We have small class size. It's so easy for us to spot who among the students are falling behind, etc. But with online, so, basing on the feedback from summative assessment and formative assessment, our school gathered data, survey. So, students pick the learning objectives which they think they have mastered or which need reteaching. So, useful, and the program for the students will take before the start of the new school year will be used in the reteaching and the remediation, the enrichment program, which the teachers will facilitate. Okay, come mid August. And also, when it comes to student support, our school has everything. So our students have what the homeroom teacher. The homeroom teachers are not classroom teachers. So their only task is to monitor and supervise student behavior, student performance. The curators are tasked to connect with parents should students have difficulty coping up with the lesson. We have guidance counselors. Even the head of the department also helps in academic problems. Yeah. So those are the support that our students get from the school.
All right. So yeah, thank you for those insights. I think just like with the comment from our viewers, the commonality is about remediation.
Mm-hmm.
So here in Singapore also, as part of our PLC work or the professional learning community, especially in our 8th grade level, so we use the RTI square model, or that's what we call the response to instruction and intervention. I've attended this seminar in San Diego and Las Vegas years back when I was in the US. And the main purpose of this is to provide intervention and enrichment based on the assessment results. So we are fortunate here in Singapore that we have a learning support specialist that can help us in our pull-out sessions when we do either intervention or enrichment. They also have a learning support class, and basically we can send the students to that teacher or specialist if that student need some help, particularly integers. Beginning of 8th grade, the common challenge for students is understanding of integers. So beginning of the year, we do some basic skills lesson or boot camp with them. So we also provide in-class grade level intervention and enrichment. We also provide after-school help. So there's 3 math teachers and 1 learning support specialist in our 8th grade team. So once a day, once a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, one of us actually facilitate the after-school math help to provide support to the kids. And of course, based on the results, we also need to do some reteaching if necessary. And in the previous question, I've also mentioned the 3 different levels of challenge. Here in Singapore, we have many students who are above the meeting the standards all the time. So we really need to provide enrichment activities for them. So with the use of Khan Academy and IXL, we can differentiate the assignments and assessments. So that's why even if they're in 8th grade, there's some students that are already taking online courses on geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, and things like that, depending on the level of the kids. All right, so with that, here's again our attendance verification codes. It's FASA 725. Take note of this. And we are down to the last question. So basically, it's all about final tips and strategies. It's already 12:22. So we will try to finish this in 8 minutes. We will wrap it up. So again, if you're interested to get the e-certificate, please make sure you take note of this code. It's FASA 725. And if you have other questions, please type your questions in the comment section. So the last one, Francis and Dang, what final tips and strategies that you can share to our viewers? Also, viewers, if you have some tips and strategies that you can share to all the teachers watching right now, please type your answers in the comment section as well. But before we get to Princess and Dang, let's see this comment from Joy Elizabeth Ventura. Constant communication and connection with them to check that they engage in the learning process, collaboration with parents, guardians as well. Yeah, at this time you really need to engage the parents as well. From Emma Apostol, if the learner was not able to perform the practicum, we give them chances to perform by letting them to have a video on the task, given the presented to the teacher the video that they made. All right. So, final tips and strategies, Princess and Dan.
Okay, I will start. By the way, before I begin, I would like to mention my colleague, Miss Norgul. She wrote in the comment, I often teach extra lessons. That is very true. Even if Miss Norgul has a lot of things to do, she takes time to provide extra lessons to the students. Yeah, very hardworking teachers. So for tips, I know that there are a lot of distractions similarities. Yeah, our story here in this country is different from we feel the burden, we feel the difficulties that you are facing at the moment. My suggestion, even if we are not on the same boat or we are not on the same page, do not do not think too much. Do not worry too much because we can only do so much. If you know that you've done your best and it seems like nothing is happening or you can't see any fruitful outcome, just reflect on it. However, do not stress yourself out because how will you be able to perform your duty if you are stressed, if you will get sick, okay, from all those worries and all those stresses that you are facing. Have time for yourself. I know that you have been working hard in preparing for this new normal.
Thank you, sis. Dang, you're next.
Yeah, so as you have mentioned, Gani, right, do not overwhelm ourselves. This is really an overwhelming thing for all of us, not only the teachers in the Philippines, but we're also experiencing that here. So we just choose the battle. We just choose our battle. We just do our best to give what's best for the community and what's best for our kids. That's why we're here.
Yeah. We all are from different countries right now. I'm here in Singapore, Princess in Kazakhstan. Dang is in Arizona, and our viewers are from the Philippines. So we have, of course, different students that we serve, and we need to adjust based on the needs of our specific kids, right? For me, when I did the math virtual learning in March to June, I tried to make the class simple. So if you could do that in your virtual learning class, I highly encourage you to make it predictable. It's okay to be predictable in the virtual learning. So I tried to divide my class into 4 sections. The first 10 minutes is just check in, do now, do some conversations with your kids just to see uh, where they're at. Because I know a lot of kids also are stressing because of the virtual learning. So check for their well-being as well during that 10-minute periods while they're working on their do now activities. And then I engage them with the class discussion and classwork. I use Notability app to do some explicit instructions, especially in math. You can't teach math without going live and without really showing the steps one step at a time. So provide a 20-minute class discussion and classwork with the kids. Also, 20 minutes breakout sessions where the students can work with their partner or they can also work with their groups. Yes, it's cooperative learning. It's still doable, even if you're doing virtual learning. So it's not just in a regular classroom setting. And finally, make sure that you have a 5-minute closing and synthesis of the lesson. Also, when you're conducting a virtual learning or video conferencing or chat conferencing, make sure that there is a norm that you use in your classes. In fact, I also encourage the schools to have a uniform norms for chat and video conferencing. That way, there is that common expectation, and students find it easy to follow where to find the links to go to their math class or science class, and make sure that every teacher also follow the norms for this chat and video conferencing. So sometimes when you do breakout rooms, the students go offline. So make sure you're clear what expectations you want to have for your kids. Is it the video on, mic on, brain on? The third one, of course, is always important. Brain on. Sometimes you want your kids to have their video off or their mic off when they enter your classroom. But the most important thing is that the brain should be on, right?
Yes.
Also, transitioning to blended learning, this is a time really to create your collaborative teams or professional learning community. This is the time for all of us to observe bayanihan mentality, especially in the Philippines. And as a school, you need to communicate your continuity of instruction plans, not just to the students, but also to the parents. I know I'm hearing some, during my conversation with other teachers in the Philippines, the continuity of instruction in some schools is not ready yet. So as a school, you need to develop that as early as possible. That way you can effectively communicate that to your students and also to the parents. The goal is to always make the virtual learning experience as close as possible to the regular classroom setting experience. So make sure that you observe that. Number 4, I've been telling you this, the most important thing is the well-being of the students, but also the teachers. That's our top priority. And finally, try to embrace new opportunities and learn new techniques. Yes, a lot of us are new to virtual learning, but use this to learn some new techniques. Also, it's my first time to conduct classes via Zoom. It's my first time to create webinars like this through StreamYard. Let's try to embrace new opportunities and learn new techniques. With that, I hope that we were able to address all of our agenda for today. We were able to answer some questions from our audience regarding teaching and learning, and we tried to emphasize more on the formative and summative assessments. We didn't hear any questions regarding life of teachers as OFWs. We know we have millions of Filipinos around the world as overseas Filipino workers. So just like them, teachers are also OFWs. Yes, so I hope that we were able to impart the knowledge again. So again, thank you, Princess and Dang, for participating in our webinar for today. And next Saturday, we will have another one. We have a guest from California. And again, Princess will be joining us again. And from China as well. Joel was not able to join us because his mother-in-law is in the hospital since Thursday. So sorry for that. Celeste and Princess, if you want to say final words to your colleagues and family in the Philippines, go ahead.
Two wonderful colleagues and friends, Miss Nurgul and Miss Jonar. They are my Kazakh colleagues here in Shimken. Thank you for taking time, Miss Jonar and Miss Nurgul. And of course, to Manang May Delgado.
All right.
And to my fellow teachers in the Philippines.
And Dan?
Thank you, Gani. Nice seeing you again. And Princess, it's been a while.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great to see you, Dan. Yeah, it's been 16 years since I connected with you. So thank you for joining us today. It's evening now in Arizona. It's still morning it's afternoon now in Kazakhstan, I think. So again, thank you to all our viewers, and I hope that you join us again next Saturday. Princess and Dan, please stay while we go offline. But viewers, thank you. Thank you for watching Celzo Academy.
Danny, thank you so much. Please continue doing what you're doing.
All right.
This is really, really helpful.
Princess and Celeste, don't go offline.
I salute you for everything you do.
All right. Thank you to all our viewers. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Celzo Academy. And have a great day, everyone.